think that this headset compares to the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive?
Well, I think that, when it comes to the marketplace, I think Sony has every reason to believe they're going to crush Facebook and Oculus Rift and the HTC and anyone out there, and to the point where those businesses like Oculus might not even exist 2 years from now.
Really?
Because of the dominance and the potential that Sony has here.
Why?
Because they've got such a big marketplace already. If you look at their device, they've got a good relationship with game makers. They've got, by some reviews already so far, some really solid games coming out. But their pipeline is fantastic. Their relationships with the game makers, the good game makers, goes back so long, and there are already 40 million units out there. There's so many units out there right now. If you could look at the kind of PCs that can even run VR, Sony already has twice as many units out there right now. They expect that number to be up by another 50% before year's end. So the expectation that they will have 60 million units before the year is out is so much bigger than Oculus could even hope for, that they will be in such a dominant position because if their installed base is that big, and you're a game maker and you say, I'm going to have to put 10, 30, $50 million into developing an AI game, what are you going to do? Develop for the tiny platform of Oculus, or develop for a platform where you've got a really big marketplace in Sony?
It's also a bit cheaper, though you need to have the console, though the Oculus and the Vive, you need to have an entire PC setup. What is Sony's, broader long-term interest in VR? Do they see this as a niche market? Do they see this as something that could become the entire market?
I don't know that they have any notion of how big it could be, but when it comes to price, it's not even close. So look at these prices. These prices they're right, but they're wrong, right? The Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift isn't $600 to run it. It's in fact $1,200 to run it, or $1,100 to run it. The HTC Vive is $1,300, right? So the PlayStation VR at $400 is nothing by comparison. If you think about the history of game machines,
you need to have the console on top of that.
The console and $400 is nothing by price comparison. You are looking at competitive units that are 30 to 50% more expensive. In the history of the game making business, if a console is 20% more expensive, it gathers dominant market share really quickly. We're looking at sometimes 40 and 50% difference. That is way too big for these other companies to be able to compete. So if the games are even close to equal, it'll be no competition, because the people want to play will get the one that they can afford to play.
And quickly, you recently spoke with Sean Layden,
right,
who runs all of this, and what did he have to say?
Well, we talked very much about growing that market size. Listen to what he had to say about that.
We found in our experiments and our experiences with virtual reality, it is so intense, it is so immersive, as you say, that it lends more to sort of, shall we say, an arcade gaming experience. Really tight, intensive bursts of play for 10 or 15, 20 minutes seems to be the sweet spot right now. But who knows? It's new. We're going to be learning things every day with this.
So all that matters in game making is what's important is not the capabilities of the game or the console itself. All that matters is how much fun the game is to play. Whether it's Angry Birds or Pong, the quality of Tetris, right? Tetris didn't require a lot of computing to play it, but it was a dominant game because it was so much fun to play. These guys have got that figured out and have the experience that Oculus and others just don't have. You can hear them talking about the game experience is different in arcade, like that's who's going to win.